It's Tuesday, November the 28th. Before I get into the fishing report, I'd like to talk a little bit about the fishing community lost a great friend and a great guy this past weekend. Mark Tucker from Kirkwood, Missouri, unexpectedly passed away this Sunday. And my wife and I would like to send out condolences to his wife, Cheryl, and the whole Tucker family. You know, Mark was a great guy. I met Mark in the early 90s, competed against him in Heartland Pro-Ams, Central Pro-Ams, Midwest Outdoors. And, you know, Mark, no matter what circuit he fished, you know, he dominated. He won. He went into BASS, qualified for several classics. I believe he won at least one Open. But, you know, the good thing about Mark, he was such a good guy. He was kind of one of them guys that when you seen him in a tournament before takeoff, you always wanted to go over there and BS with him because he always brightened up your day. Just a fierce competitor, but a good competitor. Just always great to be around. My wife and I had the opportunity to work a classic expo with him. I think it was in New Orleans. I believe it was the one Mike Iconelli won. But we got to spend a week there hanging out with Mark, you know, working for our sponsors and dinner and whatnot. But really got to know him good. And he was just an awesome guy. And, you know, everybody in the area is really going to miss him. So, again, our prayers and condolences go out to the Tucker family. And may you rest in peace, Mark. But, you know, as far as the fishing, lake level's about 911 3/4. Water temperatures in the mid-50s, and it's amazing. You know, the fishing had been really tough, but it seemed like once we got that cold front, you know, 4 or 5 days, some nasty weather, it's really turned on a lot of the fish. There were a couple different tournaments this weekend. I think it took 20 pounds to win one. And then the same day, there was the Cape Fair tournament. There was 3 stringers over 16 pounds. And I think, you know, it was a real nasty day. The wind blew like crazy. And it was cloudy and overcast. And I've always said, you know, Table Rock's probably one of the best foul weather lakes in the country. Now, there was fish caught all kinds of different ways. I think the deep bite is still pretty well dominating the number of fish coming in, but I know there was some good quality fish that came in shallow on, you know, crankbaits, a lot of Alabama rig fish starting to bite. There was some, you know, buzzbait fish caught early. The way I've been catching a lot of my fish out deep, you know, the shad have been in the creeks for quite some time and out in the main lake, but it seems like the fish are just now getting grouped up pretty good underneath them. You still got to search, but when you find the right group of bait with, you know, active fish feeding underneath them, it's kind of lights out. It's a lot of fun. The way I've been catching them on a Demiki rig, little underspins. This is a big bite, jerk minnow, but you can use anything that looks like a little fluke. You can use a single, like a 2.8 or 3.3 swim bait. And what I'm doing is finding these active fish on my forward-facing sonar and working my baits through the bait and underneath them. And you can actually see when the fish are feeding underneath them. And I'm throwing like a 3/8 ounce ball head on some of them. Jigging spoons are working good, either chrome or white. And we fished the tournament this Saturday. You know, I always throw white almost all the time, but my partner had 3 or 4 keepers in the boat on the chrome one. I used to throw a chrome and white, but so now after that I had to tie on a chrome one and start catching some fish on it. But I did catch some on my white one after he caught a few on the chrome one. But the Rapala ice fishing jig will work underneath them bait as well. And a lot of the places, you know, some of the bait's out in the main lake. Some of it's on flat gravel points, excuse me, anywhere from 35 to 55 feet deep on bottom. And a lot of it is in the center of these creeks around timber. You tend to find the better largemouth if you're fishing around trees. Seems to be a lot more Kentuckies and a few smallmouths out on the gravel. But if you get around the timber, you get stuck a little bit more, but it seems to be a little bit better quality fish. And, basically you just got to spend a lot of time idling around, to find the bait, the schools of bait, and the fish underneath them. A lot of times you will find a lot of bait, but no fish. And sometimes if you find that, just come back a couple of different times during the day. It's just a timing deal, being there when the fish are actively feeding. You can also catch them on a drop shot. Fish get a little fussy, you can just, slow down. A lot of these baits, we're casting to them and working it through them. But you can set on top of them with like the jig and spoon or a drop shot and, just vertical fish them. Last week, I started to get a little bit better on the crankbait. And the one that seems to be working the best for me, I think it's a Ghost Phantom, but it's a clear with a green tint. And I think the Ghost one has got a little orange on the bill and a little orange on the side. Now, a lot of the fish I've been catching on the crankbait, it seems like I got to have wind or clouds or both. On the slick, sunny days, it's hard for me to get a shallow bite. And I'm catching more smallmouth on it than I am Kentuckies and largemouth. So, I kind of think if you want to key on the smallmouth, you probably need to be keying more in the dam area to Kimberling City for the smallmouth on the crankbait. But I understand there was a lot of fish caught this weekend on a spinnerbait too. I fished shallow a little bit. I mainly stayed out there deep because I had a pretty good day of, practice the day before. And I think we ended up with about just under 12 pounds, but we never got any good bites. Right now, 4-pounder, or one or two of them goes a long ways because there's a lot of fish being caught in that 10 to 12 pound range. And, a guy needs a 4 or 5 pound kicker fish to get out of that. But, the fishing's just going to get better. A lot of times out there under them shad, you'll find white bass, catfish, a little bit of everything out there feeding. And I think as the water temperature starts to cool down, it's going to get even better. There's going to be more fish grouped up, where they'll be in certain areas where it'll be a little bit easier to repeat the same pattern from day to day in the same area. But, I'm got a mental blank here or something else I was going to say, but I forgot. But, the watercolor. I noticed today when I got like 0.9 at the mouth of the White River, it looked like that water was actually trying to turn over, or starting to. It had a brown tint to it, and I found that to be the case, up towards Baxter and Big Creek. And it's about time, usually when that water temperature gets down in the mid to lower 50s, the lake will flop over. That's not a real big deal, I don't think, in the fall, in the spring, because what it does, it mixes the oxygen all up. But right now the fish are so scattered, there seems to be more fish down there deeper. I don't think it's going to affect them much. What it might do is give some of the clear water a little bit more stain, so if you are fishing shallow, it might be a little easier to catch them fish. But as far as, on the crankbait, I'm just having to cover a lot of water, and it seems like, flat gravel banks, just off of the main lake, little pockets, little cuts seem to be working best for me. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.